Like most men, Wang Che was fond of being his own doctor. He studied the book of the ancient physician Lu Fei whenever he felt slightly indisposed. Had he really been familiar with the peculiarities of his digestion, he would have avoided eating too many pickled prawns. But he ate pickled prawns first and studied Lu Fei afterward. Lu Fei, a physician of renown in Yunnan during the 12th century, had devoted 8 chapters to disorders of the belly, and there are many in Western China who still swear by his methods, just as there are many in England who still swear by Culpeper's herbal. The great physician was a firm believer in the potency of otters' tails, and had Wang Che taken a dose of otters' tails the morning after the prawns, his pain and cramps might soon have disappeared. But otters' tails are both rare and expensive. In order to obtain a tail, one must catch an otter. In order to catch an otter, one must find a river, and there were no rivers in the region where Wang Che lived. Wang grew potatoes to sell in the market 12 miles away, and sometimes he traded in opium. But what interested him most was the practice of medicine, and he had some reputation as a doctor among those villagers who regarded the distant hospital with suspicion. And so, in the absence of otters' tails, he fell back upon the gall of bear, the fat of python, the whiskers of tiger, the blood of rhino, and the horn of sambar in velvet. He tried all these. He had them in stock, mixing them, as directed by the book of Lu Fei, in the water of melted hailstones. Wang took all these remedies in turn, anxiously noting the reactions that took place in his system. Unfortunately, neither he nor his mentor, Lu Fei, had given much thought to diagnosis, and he did not associate his trouble with the pickled prawns. Life would hardly have been worth living without a few indulgences, especially as Wang's wife excelled at making pickles. This was his misfortune. Her pickles were such that no man could refuse them. She was devoted to Wang Che and indulged his tastes and his enormous appetite. Like him, she occasionally dipped into the pages of Lu Fei. From them she had learned that mutton fat was good for the eyebrows and that raspberry leaf tea was just the thing for expectant mothers. Her faith in this physician of an earlier century was as strong as her husband's. And now, with Wang Che groaning and tossing on his bed, she studied the chapters on abdominal complaints. It appeared to her that Wang was very ill indeed, and she did not connect his woeful condition with overindulgence. He had been in bed for 2 days. Had he not dosed himself so liberally with python's fat and rhino's blood, it is possible that he might have recovered on the morning following his repast. Now he was too ill to mix himself any further concoctions. Fortunately, as he supposed, his wife was there to continue the treatment. She was a small pale woman who moved silently about the house on little feet. It was difficult to believe that this frail creature had brought 11 healthy children into the world. Her husband had once been a strong, handsome man, but now the skin under his eyes was crinkling, his cheeks were hollow, his once well-proportioned body was sagging with loose flesh. Nevertheless, Wang's wife loved him with the same intensity as on the day they first fell in love, 20 years ago. Anxiously, she turned the pages of Lu Fei. Wang was not as critically ill as she imagined, but she was frightened by his distorted features, his sweating body, his groans of distress. Watching him lying there, Helpless and in agony, she could not help remembering the slim, virile husband of her youth. She was overcome with pity and compassion. And then she discovered, in the book of Lou Fei, a remedy for his disorder that could be resorted to when all else had failed. It was around midnight when she prepared the vital potion, a potion prepared with selfless love and compassion. And it was almost dawn when, weak and exhausted, she brought him the potion mixed in a soup. Van felt no inclination for a bowl of soup at 5 a.m. He had with difficulty snatched a few hours of sleep, and his wife's interruption made him irritable. "Must I drink this filth?" he complained. "What is it anyway?" "Never mind what it is," she coaxed. "It will give you strength and remove your pain." "But what's in it?" persisted Van. "Of what is it made?" "Of love," said his wife. "It is recommended in the book of Lou Fei. He says it is the best of all remedies, and cannot fail." She held the bowl to her husband's lips. He drank hurriedly to get it over with, and only when he was halfway through the bowl did he suspect that something was wrong. It was his wife's terrible condition that made him sit up in bed, thrusting the ball away. A terrible suspicion formed in his mind. "Do not deceive me," he demanded. "Tell me at once, what is this potion made of?" She told him then, and when Wang Che heard her confession, he knelt before his wife, who had by now collapsed on the floor. Seizing the hurricane lantern, he held it to her. Her body was wrapped in a towel, but from her left breast, the region of the heart, blood was oozing through the heavy cloth. She had read in the book of Lou Fei that only her own flesh and blood could cure her husband, and these she had unflinchingly taken from her soft and generous bosom. "You were right, Lou Fei, old sage. What more potent ingredients are there than love and compassion?"